In this video, we're going to be focusing on the A3 piece, the Suite de la Réjouissance by Louis-Claude Daquin, a French Baroque composer. And I think this is a rather nice piece, actually. And it's called a gavotte en rondeau. And a gavotte is a dance. So it's worth bearing in mind, okay, how do I make this dance when I play it? And it comes from the Premier Livre de Pièces de Clavecin, the first book of pieces for harpsichord. That's worth noting, isn't it? Because, in other words, this piece wasn't written for the piano. Basically, the piano hadn't been invented by this point, but it was written for the harpsichord. If you get a chance to listen to a harpsichord, that's really well worth doing because it's a keyboard instrument, so the notes are in the same places, just the same as the piano, but it does sound different on a harpsichord. So you might just want to kind of YouTube harpsichord, or you might even be able to find a piece very similar to this by Daquin, or even this piece, and hear it on a harpsichord. So you've got the sound of that in mind. So even though you're playing it on the piano, you've kind of got a context for it. So that's the title of the piece and this French Baroque composer. At the bottom of the page, it gives you a little bit of information about the composer, Daquin. You know, he was one of these great talented prodigies, and he was busy playing the organ and writing music at a very early age, and then he became a musician working for the king, so he was pretty good, and he was a very good player as well. And it tells us a little bit about the piece. The fourth suite from his first book of keyboard pieces is largely made up of pieces, kind of entertaining pieces about hunting, because I suppose the king was into hunting back there. And the hunters are rejoicing. They're kind of having a little party because they've had a successful time with their hunting. And so the rejoicing goes on into the piece that we're going to talk about now. And then, as I said, the gavotte is a dance. So it's telling us the gavotte is a Baroque dance movement in a moderate tempo. So not too fast, not too slow. And it's designed in a simple rondeau form. In other words, it's got a first section that we call the A section. That's the first two lines of the piece. Then it's got a contrasting middle section we call the B section. And then you see at the end of the piece, it says DC al fine, which means da capo. So go back to the beginning and carry on until you see the word fine. It doesn't mean fine, like it's fine weather today. Italian fine means finish. And you can see at the end of line 2, it says finish. So you have to play the first two lines as the A section. Then you play the last two lines as the B section. And then you go back to the beginning and play the first two lines again. So it goes A, B, A. And that's how this idea works for this piece. Now, to avoid any confusion, in ABRSM exams, if you're playing for an exam, the advice is not to play repeats. However, when you have a DC, you should play the DC, because if you don't play it, you're going to play A, B, and then the piece is going to stop. This is going to be left in midair because we need to hear A, B, A for the piece to be complete. And another very good reason for doing this is that this is a piece in the key of C major, but when you come to the end of the B section at the bottom of the page, it's actually moved. It's what we call modulated into a different key. It's gone to G major. And then it comes back to C major, the home key, when we repeat the A section. So if you don't do the DC, you start in C major, you modulate to G major, and then you go, right, I'm just going to leave it there and leave it hanging in the air. So it's important that you do repeat that first section. So that's what all that means. Important to know all that. Okay, now it talks about something about quavers and note inégale. I'll come back and talk about that later, but don't worry about it for now. Okay, so let's see if we can work out what's going on. And we'll talk about the right hand rhythm first of all, and just see if we can count our way through the rhythm and clap the rhythm so we know exactly what's going on. So let's look at the first line of the right hand rhythm. 2/4 is the time signature. There are 2 crotchet beats in every bar, or 2 quarter note beats in every measure. Let's see, we've got crotchets or quarter notes, we've got minims, half notes, and then towards the end of the line, we've got some eighth notes, some quavers. So let's try clapping the first line, see if we can do it. Just the right hand on the first line. I'll count 2 for nothing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1, 2. So you see what's happening? You've got the same rhythm 3 times and then it changes at the end of the first line. So make sure you're quite happy about that. When you do the second line, you'll notice that those first 3 things are repeated again, but then it sort of slightly changes at the end. So we'll try clapping the rhythm of the second line. Don't worry at the moment about that little thing at the end of the line in the last but one bar, in bar 15. We'll come back and talk about that in a moment. But that is a dotted crotchet, a dotted quarter note. So we just got to think it's going to go 1, 2 and 1, 2 at the end of that line. Otherwise, the rhythms are all familiar from the first line. So let's clap the rhythm of the right hand on the second line from bar 9. Here's 2 for nothing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 1, 2. Okay, make sure you're really happy with the rhythm. You can go back and rehearse that on your own. You can rewind the video at any point and just clap it with me. But I would really make sure you've got your rhythm straight. I've said it in other places, but I'm a great believer in sorting out your rhythm first. When you learn to play notes first, you're so worried about, well, what's this note, which finger? It's quite easy to sort of change the rhythm into something that's not quite right. But if you get your rhythm sorted out first, then you kind of know what that is, and then you'll pin your notes to the right rhythm, which would be really cool. Okay, let's go on to the B section. So we're now on line 3 in bar 17. And let's see if we can now do the whole of the second half. Okay, now then, 1 or 2 things to say about this. These are all rhythms that we know about from the first half of the piece. When we come down to the bottom line, you see another one of these things again in bar 24, 5, 6, bar 27. Again, we'll do what we did in line 2. We'll just do the thing without this at the moment. Then you'll notice the last 2 bars of this page. The first one has got 1 with a box on it. Then it's got 2 with a box on it. Well, what you should do with this piece is play the first 2 lines of the piece and then repeat those. Then you play lines 3 and 4 and then you repeat those. And then the second time you go back to the beginning. Okay, in the exam, you don't do those repeats, and you may decide if you're performing this piece in a concert or a festival or something, you might do the repeats, you might not do the repeats. If you are doing the repeats in the second half, you play that box number 1 the first time. It's called a first time bar. Then you go back and repeat the section from the beginning of line 3. The second time you miss out box number 1 and you just take box number 2, what we call the second time bar. If you're playing the piece without the repeats, as you would in the exam, just miss out the first time bar, go straight to the second time bar, and we're in business. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to miss out the first time bar and go straight to the second time bar. So we're now clapping the rhythm of the right hand from bar 17, beginning of line 3. Here's 2 beats for nothing. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1, 2. 1 and 2 and 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 1, 2. Okay, that's the rhythm of the right hand. Again, try that on your own. Be really happy you've got that dotted rhythm at the end sorted out. Any mistakes you made, just kind of go back over and just work them out, see if you can count what's happening. Rewind, go over it with me till you know you've got that going. So it's not too bad dealing with that rhythm, is it? Okay, Let's now look at the left-hand rhythm and see if we can clap the left-hand rhythm. Now what you notice on the first two lines in that A section is the left hand is very busy. Lots of quavers or eighth notes. But at least it means you're just repeating the same rhythm over and over. And then you've just got to watch out for the last note of the first line, where there's a minim, a half note, so 2 beats there. And at the end of the second line, where we've got some longer notes there. So let's clap the rhythm of the left hand in the first two lines in that A section. So from the beginning, I'll count 2 for nothing. 1, 2. 1 and 2 and 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 1, 2. 1 and 2 and 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 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so hopefully you got that left hand rhythm going there. Lots of quavers, eighth notes. Again, rehearse it, rewind, go back over it until you're really sure about it. When we look at the second half of the piece, the B section from the beginning of line 3, well, we've got lots of those quavers or eighth notes again. We've got some crotchets, some quarter notes thrown in as well. So let's just try clapping from line 3, bar 17. And again, we'll miss out the first time bar and go straight to the second time bar. Here's 2 for nothing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 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 1, 2, 1 and 2 and. Okay, that's the left hand in the second half. Again, take time out of the video, just pause, clap that on your own, see if you can count it right. Be very happy about what you're doing, and then you'll get all of that sorted. Okay, right. Now, we're doing all right with our rhythms, which is absolutely fantastic. Before we leave the rhythm, I'm just going to talk about this thing that they mention in the notes at the bottom, the French note inégale. So unequal notes, which is a sort of funny thing. Now, this is a very peculiarly French thing from the Baroque period. But when you play your quavers in French Baroque music, you can play them as what we call straight quavers. So, or you can play these note inégales. It's a bit like a kind of swing rhythm, if you've ever done any swing rhythm pieces. But you kind of play the things like this. Instead of even quavers, you go. That is a note inégale. So if you play them with straight quavers, the beginning would sound like this. And that's fine, absolutely fine to play it like that in the exam or in a performance. If you do the note inégale, it sounds like this. So if you're sort of thinking, well, this is going rather well, I'm getting on top of this piece, and you want to be kind of impressive and play with note inégale, that's how you would do it. Okay, but don't worry about that if you're thinking, oh my goodness, what is he talking about now? Just forget all that. You can play it perfectly straight. But that's just a bit of French style. Okay, now let's have a look at the right hand notes. Before we start from the beginning, I just want to come back to 2 bars that we just talked about a little bit earlier, but we didn't fully explain. The first one is bar 15. So look at the end of the second line of music in the last but one bar, where we had this D, C, C. Okay, but above that D is this funny little squiggly thing. Looks a bit like a kind of squash McDonald's sign, doesn't it? Now, that is something we call a mordant. And in particular, this one is called an upper mordant. If you saw that squiggly thing and it had a line down the middle of it, a vertical line, that will be a lower mordant. But I mean, don't worry about that. But this is a mordant. Now, how are we going to play this? Well, if you look above the stave, some very helpful editor has written how to play your mordant. So even though it says D, what you've got above the stave is this. E, D, E, D. Okay, so do you see how that works? E, D, E, D. And you see the rhythm, quaver, semi, semi, quaver. Okay, so 1 and 2 and is how it fits in with the last note of the bar. So E, D, E, D, C, you've got that. Worth practicing that until you've got really happy about it. It's funny when you're looking at the note D and you're thinking, why am I playing all these notes? But that's what this ornament sign means. And it's literally an ornament. It's a way of ornamenting a line, like you have a little ornament on your mantelpiece at home or something, just to make it look more cheerful. Well, it's a bit like that with this. This is a rejoicing piece, so this is making it even more rejoicing, having a mordant in it. If you played it in the exam without a mordant or in a performance without the mordant, not the end of the world, but you know, if you want to do really well with it, it's a good idea to have the mordants in. There's another mordant on the last line, bar 27, and can you see that this time it's the same rhythm that we had at the end of line 2, but the note's different. So it's a printed A this time, but we're going to do exactly the same pattern, the same rhythm, everything, as we did at the end of line 2. So we're going to go B, A, and then onto the G that you see printed at the end of the bar. Okay, so that is how it goes. So you might want to practice, you know, bar 15 and put it with a bar before. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And this bit at the end with the bar before. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And again, you could rewind that, just listen to it, get the sound of it, and then see if you can play it on your own, see if you can play it with me. Because some people, they try to put those things in, which is really good, but they kind of take too much time over it, or they do something slightly funny with it. Is it the only way to play a mordant? No, there are other things you could do, but this is the most sensible way of playing it. So I would stick with that if I were you. Okay, so that's dealt with that. Now we've done that, let's go back over right-hand notes. One thing you notice at the beginning is there are quite a few leaps. Now you might think, well, why does a composer write all those kind of leaps? Why did Daquin do that? Well, again, come back to the mood of the piece. It's a celebration. We're rejoicing about the success at the hunt. And it's a dance. So what do you do in dance? You have dancers leaping, don't you? So in case you're thinking, goodness, why is it going G, G, A, F, A, B, G, B? See, it's like being on a roller coaster, isn't it? But that's because it's a dance. It's a gavotte, and it gets that rejoicing mood. And you also notice you've got staccatos written on those notes, which is another thing that makes it sound very rejoiced-like, doesn't it? And you've got forte as well, so it's loud. So it's good to notice all these things. And then because he's been leaping around so much at the beginning, at the end of the first line and at the end of the second line, he's kind of using notes that are next door to each other a bit more to kind of give us a contrast. And then in the B section, we get notes that are a bit next door to each other before we start leaping again. So you can hear there's a kind of contrast between these big leaps, what we call disjunct movement, and notes next door to each other, which is what we call conjunct movement. And you might notice when the right hand is doing lots of disjunct movement, the left hand is doing much more conjunct movement. So it kind of balances out a bit. You might not need to know that, but it's just interesting to think, how does Daquin get the mood across? Okay, let's have a look at these notes. So in the right hand, we're starting with top G, fifth finger, staccato, jump down to bottom G with a thumb, second finger on A. Then back to F, fifth finger, jump down to A with a thumb, B with a second finger, jump back up to G with a fifth finger, then come down to B, but they're suggesting the second finger. It's very sensible to do that. You might wonder why. It's going to help you do the next bit. So the next note is C with a thumb. Then you can play D, E, F, G with fingers 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 3, 1 with the E, C, and that's where this conjunct movement comes, so neighbouring fingers. So that's why you want that thumb and that C before you get there. Second line, looking very familiar, so G, G, A, just like it was on the first line, F, A, B, just like it was on the first line, G, B, second finger again, and then we go straight into C, D, E, F. So it's similar to what we did at the end of the first line, but a kind of a note lower. And then you've got to do your mordant. So C, D, E, F, E, D, E, D, C, and then this chord. And that chord, you've got E, G, C, 1, 2, 5. And you might want to practice going from the mordant bar to that last chord because you have to kind of reposition your hand. It's a little bit awkward. You get your thumb on that and then you have to move to these other fingers. So make sure you can do that, because I think when people are a bit nervous, if they haven't practiced that, they might land on the wrong chord. Okay, that's how the first half goes. Let's go into the B section, line 3, where it's a little bit more conjunct. So third finger on E, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that's kind of a little bit easier, isn't it? Notes are closer together. E, D, E, C, D. Then move your third finger onto the next C. C, B, C, D, B. And again, it's going 3, 2, 3, 4, 2. Then we're going to leap again. We're doing a bit more disjunct, staccato notes. So D, D, E, and that's 5, 1, 2. Then we go to the bottom line, C, E, F sharp, and again it's 5, 1, 2. And then we're going to go D, F sharp, so that's 5, 2 again, because we've got to get our thumb ready for the next note. 1, 2, 3, 4, just going up the scale there. Then our mordant, dum, ba, ba, bum, bum, chord. And you sort of realise that all of this feels very much like what we were doing on line 2, because when you look from bar 21, sort of the last but one bar of the line 3, this is really from that point onwards exactly the same as line 2, but we've just gone into a different key. So the notes are just 4 notes lower than they were before. But if you check out those notes, they're all 4 notes lower than they were on line 2. So it's the same pattern. Once you've learnt line 2, you can kind of move to this bit starting in bar 21 and just think same pattern, just 4 notes lower. And you've got to put the F sharps in because we've gone to that different key we talked about, to G major. Now, once you've done that, well, you've got the right hand notes going, haven't you? So you can rehearse those on your own. Just pause the video, work on those notes, come back, work on it with me just to make sure you're right with everything. And then you can move on to the left hand notes. Let's look at the left hand notes. I'm not going to do note inégale. We're just going to do it with what we call a straight rhythm. Okay, so from the beginning, lots of these quavers, but lots of conjunct movement. So C, D, E, C, that's 5, 4, 3, 5. Then F, G, F, E, so 2, 1, 2, 3. Now notice the next 2 bars are just the same as the first 2 bars, but 1 note higher. Exactly the same pattern. D, E, F, D, G, A, G, F. Do you see exactly the same pattern, but just a note higher? Then guess what? Next 2 bars, same pattern again, 1 note higher, same fingers. E, F, G, E, then A, B, C, A. So you see what's going on there? And then the last 2 bars, B with the second finger, G with the fourth, A with the third, B with the second, C with the thumb. Brill. We move on to line 2, and it's just about a rerun of what we've just done. So this is all the same. Use the same fingers as you did before. Put your 5th finger in for that new start. Put your 5th finger in for this new start. Put your 3rd finger in there. Now, then it's different because the last note of this bar is F. It was A before, but it's F now. Then tuck your thumb in for G. Now you might think, what's going on now? We've got a G as a minim or a half note and G as a crotchet, a quarter note. Well, what it means is play the G, hold on to that G with your thumb, add bottom G with your fifth finger. So you've got both the G's sounding. Then when you come to the last note, they're suggesting you put your second finger on that C and then switch to your thumb. Then as you're holding that, add bottom C with your fifth finger. Now, you could decide, if you don't really want to do that 2 swapping to 1, that you could go from the previous bar, 1, hold on to 1, down to 5. You could just hop your thumb to the C, hold on to the C, go down there. Or if you want to be a bit safer, then go to 2, switch to 1. That's your call. Line 3, well, a little bit more kind of leapy in the bass when the right hand is being a bit less leapy. So interesting how those contrasts happen. So bar 17, line 3, C at the top, C at the bottom, both staccato, which helps you to do that if you've got small hands, isn't it? So 1, 5, and then B, A, B, G. So that's 1, 2, 1, 3. And then we're going to go A with the second finger, F sharp with the fourth finger, then G with the third, F sharp 4, G3, A2, B with the thumb, A with the second finger, back to B with the thumb. Then notice fifth finger on G, so we can manage this next bit. C, second finger, thumb on D, second on C, third on B. Then as we go into the bottom line, notice you need a fifth finger on A, 4 on B, 3 on C, 5 on A, 2 on D, 1 on E, 2 on D, 3 on C. Then notice you need a fifth finger again, 5 on B, 4 on C, 3 on D, 5 on B. Then you need a third finger on E, ledger lines here, F sharp, second finger, G with a thumb, back to C with the fifth finger. Then this is a bit like that thing at the end of line 2. Play the D with your thumb, hold on to that if you can, and play the bottom D with your fifth finger. By the way, if you can't stretch the octave, you'll have to let go of the top note. But if you can manage it, hold on to it. Cutting to the second time bar, thumb on G, 2 on F, 3 on E, 4 on D. Then we go back to the beginning and do that first 2 lines, that A section again. That works us through the notes of the 2 hands. So if you practice those, that'll be really good. One thing about this piece is practice your fingering carefully, because there are 1 or 2 places where you've got to do something that's not 100% comfortable, putting those fifth fingers in the left hand. But if you don't do it, you run out of fingers all the time. So it's a good idea to do that, and make sure you always use the same fingering. And then that gets you sorted, which is really good. Okay. Once you can play the notes, and we're kind of on with the notes and the rhythms, and we can do the mordants, well, then you can start putting both hands together and start to think more about the character of the piece. Now, we've talked about one thing you could do is to play the note inégale. Do that if you want to, but if you want to play it straight, that is absolutely fine. Notice at the beginning, forte. Notice staccatos in the right hand. This kind of jumping thing is making it sound very much part of the come to the party and continue the rejoicing. So if you just kind of play them smoothly, you know, I'm not feeling it quite. Are you? You're feeling like we're rejoicing, or actually are we thinking I'm feeling a bit miserable? So see if you can do those staccatos and that forte, and then you'll have all the energy of the left hand quavers or eighth notes that will help you to get the mood. When you come to line 3, there's a bit of a contrast. So we're dropping to MP, moderately quiet, but then later on in that line, we're going back to MF, so a bit louder. And then when we go back to the DC, back to the A section at the beginning, we're back to loud again, so we can have a nice loud finish. So If you can put those dynamics in, that would be really cool. If you can put all the staccatos in and then, you know, do the rest of it fairly smoothly, I think that will give it a lot of character. Then by the time we've got the ornaments and everything, oh, we'll be well away, won't we? It's suggesting at the beginning that you might aim for a speed of 112. Daquin didn't write that, but the editor, Mr. Jones, has put that in there just to give you an idea that that might be a good speed to kind of celebrate the rejoicing, to get the gavotte dance idea. So if you're going slower than that, well, you might miss out on a bit of rejoicing. You might miss out on a bit of dancing. So it's probably a good idea to build up to that speed if you can get there. If you can't, if it's going to go wrong and you end up playing it a bit slower, that's not the end of the world. But it's a good thing to aim for. But build up gradually, and that will be really, really cool. Okay. And you might notice as well, we've talked about this A, B, A structure, but you might notice as well that we've spotted repetitions and patterns going along the piece, haven't we, that break it down a bit more. So just to look at that, at the beginning, you've got 2 bars. Then you've got another 2 bars with the same pattern. Then you've got another 2 bars with the same pattern. But this time it goes on to finish off the phrase. Then we've got 2 bars, then 2 bars, then 2 bars, and then it goes on to finish the A section. Then we go into the B section. We've got 2 bars, then another 2 bars that are kind of a bit like those previous 2 bars. It's another one of these things we call, it's a bit of a sequence. The left hand's not entirely identical, but basically the notes of 17 and 18 are 3 lower in 19 and 20. So that's a little sequence, and it's kind of 2 bars, then 2 bars again, 3 notes lower. And then we go into, we've got 2 bars of this, then 2 bars of this, then 2 bars of this, but going on to finish the end of the phrase. So it's quite interesting just to think, well, okay, I've got this A, B, A thing, but how does that break down a little bit? Because it helps us to make sense of it. You know, if I just speak to you like this and I never take a breath because I haven't got any punctuation in what I'm saying, there's no commas, there's no full stops, there's no anything, and now all you're hearing is a load of words and you're thinking, oh my goodness, when is this sentence going to end? You get the idea. When we're speaking, we have to stop. We have to put full stops. We have to put commas. When we're writing, obviously, we do the same. Lots of people play music like I've just been talking. They just play a whole load of notes from the beginning to the end, and then they stop because it's finished. But if you can think, actually, it's 2 bars, then there's punctuation, like a little comma. So 2 bars and a comma, 2 bars and a comma, then 4 bars. 2 bars and a comma, 2 bars and a comma, 4 bars. And after the 4 bars, there's a kind of full stop. You start to make more musical sense of what's going on in the piece. So you might want to think about doing that as well to make a bit more sense of what's going on. Anyway, if you can get going with all of those things, I think you'll get a performance of this Daquin piece going very nicely. And it is absolutely wonderful music. I love French Baroque music, and I hope you do as well, having learnt this piece, and it might open the door of possibility to learn other French Baroque music, which is great stuff to do. But remember the mood. So once you've got your notes and your rhythms and your staccatos and your dynamics, and you've kind of thought about the structure of the piece, then really think, is this sounding like it's rejoicing? Like, imagine something you would rejoice at, because it's difficult to imagine yourself as a Baroque king celebrating hunting, maybe. It's not something we'll do every day of the week, is it? But imagine what would happen if you won the lottery. Whoa, you'd be feeling rejoicing, wouldn't you? What would happen if you got a distinction in your piano exam? You would be rejoicing, wouldn't you? So imagine something in your own life that would make you really feel rejoice. And then play the piece and think, does that sound like I'm rejoicing, or does it sound like actually I'm pretty bored and fed up and it's not actually anything to celebrate? That will make the difference between performances that are okay and performances that are really convincing. So go for it and see if you can get that character of the music across, and it makes it much more exciting to anybody listening to it. So enjoy learning Daquin's Suite de la Réjouissance, the gavotte en rondeau.